welcome to Plowing the Past. My name is Kendall Motes, and in these videos, guests who have shaped New Holland, Pennsylvania's agriculture history will be interviewed and asked to share their experience. Again, my name is Kendall Motes, and I'm a second-year student at Ithaca College, majoring in communications. In 2022, I was the first New Holland Fair Queen, and then I was also part of the Grassland FFA chapter at Garden Spot, serving as the Sentinel for 1 year and the President for 2 years. Today we are interviewing Carolyn Witmer, class of 1983. We are going to be talking to her about her FFA experience and her time in state office. So, would you like to take it away and tell us a little bit about what got you into agriculture?
Well, interestingly enough, I had a best friend in 7th and 8th grade who convinced me to give production ag a try because there was production and environmental ag at the time. And when she first approached me, I was like, why would I want to do that? Which was funny because I grew up on a farm and she didn't. So I had never heard of the ag program. So it was kind of a natural progression for me because I did grow up on a farm.
Yeah.
And I mean, best decision I ever made. Can't imagine my life having not done the ag program and the FFA. So,
can you tell me a little bit about the production side and kind of the things that you guys did and what you were taught in class?
We did a lot more of just like the animal side of things, the crops, whereas the environmental side, of course, did fisheries and preserving the environment and all that kind of the horticulture, floriculture, all that kind of stuff. So that was the separation. It's not like we never touched one, but we did. We would have ag shop, which they wouldn't have had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess production just made more sense for me because I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
So that's the direction I went.
And did you see a lot of what you knew from living on a farm translate into class then and see it help you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then your friend, I have to ask, did she help you on the farm ever? Did she ever work for you guys?
No, her brother was really he was a farmhand.
Okay.
And she raised animals. They had a farmette type thing.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, she didn't.
That's interesting that she got you into it.
And she was more about, shy, quiet personality, so she never, she did FFA, but she never was into having an office or doing any of the public speaking or any of that, so.
Okay. Now, what were some of your favorite activities in FFA? So CDs, LDs?
Yeah, there's so much.
I know. And you want to try all of them.
I loved, of course, the public speaking and parliamentary procedure. I was on a state-winning parliamentary procedure team.
Okay.
So that was huge for me. I did extemporaneous public speaking, which that has really served me well. I won the state in that and went on to the regions.
Okay.
And just, I love the livestock contests. And, I mean, everything. I was in the poultry contest, the county. I had qualified for state, but actually got sick and couldn't go to the state convention that year with 9th grade. That was really sad. And then I did the livestock judging as well. And I placed in state, 20th, but there was hundreds of people who did that. So I felt pretty good about 20th place because there were 200 people who did the contest.
Mm-hmm.
So
and was that livestock judging?
Yeah, that was livestock.
Oh, and it's still like that. I think the 1 year it was 300 people.
Yeah,
it is still that.
So many people. I don't know why so many, but yeah, I just loved everything about it. And just the camaraderie with just people from everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It was just an amazing experience.
Yeah. Now, what FFA experiences do you think served you best? If you could pick maybe 3 of them.
Oh, wow. I think being a part of the contest and learning how to present your reasoning.
Okay.
Learning how to just conduct yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And of course with the public speaking, learning how to give a speech and have quality content and good delivery, and that was huge too. And the other thing I think that has served me really well is just the influence of some of the advisors and how they just really believed in us and really encouraged us to pursue, becoming the best version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And they, Cliff Day had a huge influence on me. He was my junior and senior year teacher.
Okay.
So yeah, he was just amazing. We spent a lot of time with him because when we won the state parliamentary procedure contest, we did a week-long road trip with Cliff.
Okay.
Poor guy. 11 of us in a very small camper, fit on the back of the pickup truck. Went up to
the one that you guys built.
No, this was one that it was a member of the parliamentary procedure, Daryl Gockley. It was his family's.
Because there was another group that built one that went on the back of a truck.
Okay.
They used to have pictures of it in the other room, but I didn't know if that was your year.
So he hung out. We camped along the way. He hung out with us for about a week, and we went up to the Thousand Lakes region in Montreal, Canada.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, it was poor guy. 11 teenagers for a week.
But good memories.
Oh, great memories, yeah.
And why did you guys go on that trip? Sorry,
We won money to go on a trip. I mean, I guess it was aimed at going on a trip. That's what everyone did with it.
That's amazing.
State parliamentary procedure. So,
wow. And
yeah.
you went up to
But
Canada.
like even, thinking about parliamentary procedure, just the professionalism that taught you.
Yes.
And how to handle a business meeting or just how to present yourself, in a professional setting has really served me well.
Well, I know I was on the school board for 2 years, like at the end of high school, and I knew all this parliamentary procedure stuff, and like, people on the school board were doing it wrong.
Right.
So I was like, what are you guys doing? Like,
Right.
this
You wanted
would
to
not
correct them.
fly. Yeah, right? But when you decided that you were going to run for state office, you were the first female elected as state FFA president. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It was just kind of a natural progression. I had been secretary in my junior year, I'd been president in my senior year. Junior year was also county vice president.
Okay.
And that I felt like, that was a little bit of a tough sell. I think, I don't think they saw a female as president of the county. So I was vice president. And then it was just a natural progression to do state office. And so I was really excited about it. One of the memories at the time of being, first female, when I told my parents that I was going to do this, my dad was like, so does everyone run for state president? I'm like, yeah, we just kind of all say that's our goal, and then whatever, wherever we land is fine. He's like, well, just so you know, they're not going to allow a female to be president of the state.
Okay.
There never has been one. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like I hadn't thought about it before.
Yeah.
So that was the best phone call I ever made when I got to call home and say, guess what?
Yeah.
I am state president. It was, it was really cool. I was very well aware that it was first because it was all over the papers and
I'm sure.
all over everything. I didn't ever feel like any of the advisors or anybody in the state was like, what are you doing? Like you're a female. Like they fully embraced it. I never felt like I had something to prove.
Yeah.
I just was who I was, and I happened to be the first state female president, and that was fine. It did follow on the heels of the first national president.
Okay.
So I don't know if that helped. The first national president was put in the November before I was the first state female.
Okay.
So, and maybe that broke through a little bit in the thinking at the time. But yeah, it was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah. Now, I kind of am skipping around here, but what was kind of like your niche, like your thing in agriculture? Like,
I raised sheep, and
Okay.
that was probably the influence of Dr. Herber.
okay.
When he was my sophomore ag teacher, and he would take us out to his farm and show us and try to influence us that sheep were amazing and we should raise sheep. I think he was a little disappointed because they didn't raise the same breed. But yeah, so I definitely learned a lot in that too, because in showmanship and taking my sheep all over, and had a couple grand champions, and that was a lot of fun. And I also did sweet corn because I grew up on a produce farm. So my dad had livestock, and then he also had produce. So we did sweet corn and tomatoes and asparagus, anything you can sell at a farm market, we did. And then he had steers and pigs, so sheep was new to the farm.
Oh, wow.
So I introduced him to that, and then we got into breeding for a few years.
Okay. And did you show them to them?
Yeah.
Okay, you did.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we're going to go back to state FFA.
Okay.
You were talking a little bit about how, you were all over the papers and things like that. How was like that first month in state office being the first female president? I feel like there would be a lot of publicity that first
Yeah,
month.
there was. A little bit of pressure, I would say, just to, just wanted to do a really good job.
Yeah.
I didn't want to let anyone down. I wanted to prove that I could do, what anybody else could do in the position. So, and it was interesting knowing this interview was coming up. I was really looking back into the past and thinking through my time in the FFA, or as state president. And I was just thinking about the communication and how that was so different then. Like, I literally mailed letters or notes to my state officer team or called them on their home phone. There was no texting, no, cell phones. And it was a very different form of communication, but just a lot of communication was necessary. And it was all written word or house phones.
Yes, and I can't believe how much time they spend together now. But you guys weren't like that.
No, we did. We did.
You did spend a lot of time
I
together.
saw some of your other interviews. I think the early FFA didn't do quite as much. We spent a lot of time together. Now I was still able to hold a job, but still to be a very flexible job.
Oh, okay.
That I could take off anytime.
Okay.
But we did a lot of I did national conferences. We did a lot of state conferences that we led or we attended.
Okay.
A lot of banquets.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Banquets after banquets. And I was thinking about that too. We would travel without a cell phone, with a paper map, and try to find the chapter.
And think about it, some of these schools up north that are in the middle of nowhere.
And I'd be driving home at 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Not really knowing where I was going. I was all by myself. It was just quite interesting. the difference.
Did you go to the banquets by yourself, or did you go with somebody else usually?
Typically, I went by myself. It seemed like everybody wanted the state president to come, so I tried to do as many as I could.
Yeah.
But there were a couple that I attended with some other officers, but mainly I was by myself because we were so divided up because we had to cover so many chapters.
Okay.
So yeah.
Now, did you have a keynote speech that you would give?
I had a variety of speeches.
Okay.
I probably had 5 or 6. I didn't ever want to say the same one.
Okay.
Give the same one at a chapter that was in the same county. I always wanted to do something different.
Do you have like a favorite one or one that you would share with us? No, obviously don't give the speech, but
wow.
like the topic.
Now you're really jogging my memory. I did a lot of leadership speeches.
Okay.
Yeah, just like, you can do it. You can be who you want to be. Like, just take the chance.
Yeah, seriously. What was your favorite chapter to go and visit? Did you ever like go to one multiple times, or did you see them in multiple places and they were kind of like your biggest fan?
I don't know that I had a favorite that I can recall.
Yeah.
I loved staying in Lancaster County. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, and yeah, I did a really good rapport with a lot of the advisors from around the county and around the state, really.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the traveling, you said, to different like national conventions and state conventions. What did that look like?
We did several leadership conferences in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
We did, of course, a national convention. And then while I was state president, we hosted a national officer tour of all like agribusinesses in the area.
Okay.
So several of us went around with the state with. I think we split it up. I think I did the eastern half of the state, and maybe a couple in the west. But my state officer team split it up by where they were from.
Okay.
And we traveled with them and did that state tour. And we did some leadership conferences in the Poconos. We did some Western Pennsylvania for different chapter officers, doing some leadership there. So it was busy. It was a very busy year.
I'm sure. And then once the year ended, what did that look like? Did you stay at the job you were holding, that like flexible job you said?
I did for a little while, and then I actually got into banking for a short period of time. I was training to be a financial planner, and just didn't enjoy that. So then just did a lot of soul searching, and then decided to pursue going to beauty school. So that's what I did, yeah. And
tell us a little bit about that and where that's led you now.
Well, I owned a salon. I worked for someone for about 3 years, and I owned a salon for 30 years.
Okay.
So, I think some of the times the ag advisors were a little disappointed I didn't stay in agriculture. It just isn't where life took me. I think back then it was a little bit more difficult to go to college for a kid in my shoes, where I didn't have a background of anyone in my family attending college. I didn't really know the first thing about how I get into college.
Yeah.
So part of me was like, I'd love to go be an ag teacher, but part of me was like, I can't afford it.
It's very daunting.
Thing about it, yeah, it was very daunting. So I always enjoyed hairdressing. In fact, some of the ag guys would come over and get their hair cut by me when I was a junior and senior in high school. So I just decided to pursue that. And a lot of what I learned in the FFA and the leadership side of things really served me well in business.
And I mean, you have your own business.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you were pitching to get like loans and different things like that.
Right.
And that all came from why you chose this for your XTEM speech and why you chose this for whatever. So
and just how to present yourself.
Yeah.
And how you even have the confidence
to
start a business and to run a business. So that really served me well. And then I sold my portion of the business in the end of 2020.
Okay.
Just decided he told me he had something else for me. So then I went into working with my husband in his business. So we ran 2 businesses for quite a few years, which is always crazy. So he has Key 80s Hardware, which is on the other side of Africa. We run that with our oldest son. And
can you tell us a little bit about your husband and maybe a little bit of his background and your kids?
He was an EFRTA, Cloister FFA member. He was actually state officer the year before me.
Okay.
So we met in the FFA. So I was not in the FFA, I would not have met my husband. We met when I was a county officer and I needed to contact him to do a leadership conference to be part of a leadership conference for the vice president section.
Okay.
So he was Eastern Region vice president for the state. And so we met that way, started dating, took a little break. He went on work experience abroad in Japan when I was a state officer, and then came back and we ended up getting married in 1985.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. Yeah.
85 or 95?
85.
85. Okay, so right after your state office year.
It was about a year and a half after.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've seen the year you graduated.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about your kids then, and if they're involved in FFA? I heard you talking. There's kind of an age gap with your kids as well.
Yeah, I have 4 children. I have 3 that are all 2 years, 2 years and 3 years apart, and then I have an 11-year gap.
Okay.
One on behind. So my oldest she runs a branding agency with her husband, so she's very artistic. It's a lot of graphic design, package design, website design. And then my son is in partnership with us at the business.
Okay.
That's Elliot. Eldest is Sabrina. And then Olivia is a civil engineer.
Wow.
She lives in Akron with her husband, who is an auctioneer. His family is an auctioneer in business. And then my youngest son is a freshman in college at Kutztown, and he's a football player. He's there for business major.
Okay.
So they were involved in 4-H. They showed pigs, because my husband was from a pig farm, pig and produce, so we had that in common, the produce side of things. But yeah, they just never, they had other career paths and other interests, and I was always a big proponent of, you do what your passion is. Like, don't ever choose something because that's what I chose or your dad chose. Do what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
So just always supported them in that, and that's the direction it took them.
That's awesome.
So it was kind of fun. My youngest son took a shop class that was part of something the FFA teacher was teaching at Ephrata. So it was fun to meet her and hear her experiences and kind of connect that way.
And he's not like involved in anything anymore, like not showing or anything? Because he would still be under 21. Your youngest.
Right, he never did show.
Oh, he
just
never,
the oldest two.
Just the oldest,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And do you guys live in Ephrata then?
We do, yeah.
Okay.
We lived Ephrata Mountain for about 30 years, and now we just recently moved to, still in the Ephrata area,
Okay.
but a little more this direction.
Awesome. Now, as we wrap up the interview, is there anything else that you'd like to touch on that I might not have asked or anything? I know you said you were digging back and thinking of your years.
Yeah, I think just, I think I touched on it earlier, but just some of the amazing leadership experiences that you get through the FFA that really propel you through your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we don't always value the influences of our advisors as much as we should.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Cliff Day was an amazing advisor to me, and I think that he really had an influence on me in helping me to believe in myself.
Yeah.
I was struggled very much with self-confidence when I was in school.
Okay.
And that's something I really gained through the FFA. It's like, you can do whatever you put your mind to.
Yeah.
And he was huge in that. He was a huge man of faith, which he didn't push on us, but he was there to support us when we needed it.
Mm-hmm.
And just, all of the advisors, and even my state FFA advisors, the county advisors, just the influence that they had, and just saying, hey, you can do this, you can do whatever. Don't let it hold you back. Especially being the first female, like they never said to me, oh, you're not going to accomplish that, never.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool.
That's amazing. And that's a great place to end off. Like, girl power. I think that's awesome. I think that's so good. Thank you all for watching, and thank you for meeting with us today. Stay tuned for more Plowing the Past videos.